Hello, everybody, and welcome to this AFC South show number 149. I'm the host of the channel. My name is Curtis Brown, and with me, as always, our resident Colts fan, Jeff Steckel, aka Big Steck. You can now find him on the podcast channel Unstabled. You can search at Unstabled1 and just look for the blue and the ponies, and you found the right place. Down here at the middle bottom of our screen is Eric. He's filling in for our regular Isaiah, but he is a part of the Third and Teal show. A huge addition from what I've gotten to piece together, and when I make clips and whatnot, you're going to bring a lot to this show. So I'm excited to have you on here, right? So, guys, how are y'all?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm glad to be here. It's a privilege, So I'm ready to get into it, and yeah, let's chop it up.
All right. Privilege makes me feel amazing, but I don't know if that's the word. But we got a good show lined up for everybody. We're going to be talking all of the stuff that we've missed since the last time we saw each other on this channel. And we're going to be looking a little bit towards draft. Maybe we'll get into that a little bit. But we're also going to be getting a little critical of our own fan bases. Now, you are probably recognizing there's not a Titans fan with us this evening. Blake has taken a step back a little bit. He's kind of readjusting and focusing on his family for now. So at the moment, Titans fourth guy, TBD. But I've been over there on that channel, so I'll be able to cover for them on tonight's episode. So don't feel bad, Titans fans. I got your back. Insta. So hit the like, subscribe button. Go find Unstabled and Third and Teal and that Real Texas Team podcast, as well as Titans takeaways for exclusively Titans, Jags, Texans, and Colts coverage. So let's get into it. Who wants to talk about their team's offseason first?
Hey, let's go with the ponies first. Go ahead, ponies.
All right, man.
Come on, pony up.
Yeah, it was an in-house spending spree is what I'll call it from Ballard. He did sign a couple of outsiders. I guess probably the biggest was Joe Flacco. Backup Richardson. I dig it. It made some funny stuff on the show. Obviously, when I first came onto the show, that was my big issue with Isaiah, that he was Joe Flacco is going to be a Colt, and this was 2 seasons ago. 2 seasons ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's never going to happen. And here we are. But I'm okay. I'm good with it. And they also signed in, I'm going to butcher his first name, Raekwon Davis, I think, from Miami.
Yeah.
And other than that, they pretty much re-signed everybody. So they're pretty much just running it back from last year. They did just extend DeForest Buckner 2 years, I think $46 million. So it pretty much doubled their cap space to, I think, about $29-30 million. So I don't know if he's planning on using the cap space or what he's going to do with it. But other than that, that's pretty much all that's really happened in Indianapolis. Just a bunch of key re-signings and adding little depth.
Isn't that the most stereotypical Indianapolis Colts offseason, if you've ever heard one? Ballard has the money.
Well, I can say they tried to sign.
They try, and then they end up going to a different AFC South team.
They offered the boy more money, and he went to Houston. That's not on the Colts. Nobody wants to play up in this freezing weather with state taxes.
Well, it's all about the situation too. One of them has a glass court. The other one is, the Texans. But there's a lot of hype building around the draft this year. So I mean, maybe Ballard gets another class. What was it, like 2017, 2018? That he drafted like a bunch of studs in, with like Quentin Nelson and Shaq Leonard.
Oh yeah,
Mm,
it happened, man.
I mean,
maybe,
that would
maybe.
be nice. They would need
Yeah.
that. So let's talk about the glitter kitties down south. How are we doing?
Wait a minute, wait a minute. No, you didn't say glitter kitties, really? Oh man, come on now.
One of
We
Isaiah's
can't go with that.
one, one of Isaiah's
No.
He's
nicknames
a
on the show
gamer.
is the glitter kitty conquistador,
Oh Lord.
which is
Oh,
so
I thought he was a little kitty tamer. My bad.
No, we gonna have to change that. No, no. But
all right.
anyway, we had a very busy off season, I guess you can say. The biggest thing is we got Josh back. We got him signed, which is good. Um, we lost. Who did we lose? Ridley. See, but okay, we'll talk about Ridley later. But yeah, it's not as big as loss as most people think, in my opinion. We shored up our center position. We got Morse. We brought Gabe Davis in, Darby, Savage. So we did some work on the defensive side and fixed one of our biggest glaring problems, the offensive line center. So, of course, we have more work to do, and hopefully we get some of it done in the during the draft of next week. But yeah, we did all right. We re-signed a lot of people. Um, that's good role players, that still can make a contribution to the team. And we still got a little bit of money, which I didn't realize we did until it came out. I'm like, wow, we still got that much money left. I think like 30 million or something like that. We still got left over, from all these signings. So, and the biggest thing is we're working on getting Trevor, extended another contract, which would be big, especially if we can get it done before training camp or before the end of the season, so we won't have to worry about the franchise tag or, having him play through, fifth year option or just him even getting close to free agency
Yeah.
because I don't think at this point we can't even afford that part of it. So,
No.
yeah. Overall, though, the Jags, baby. Oh, we still there. We still there.
All right. All right. So how do I want to ask this? So Houston tried to get Eric Armstead. He ends up coming to Jacksonville instead. It was a big move after Fotokasi leaves. Um, can you tell me a little bit about what Eric Armstead's going to bring to that defensive front?
Experience. And that's one of the biggest experience. He's been in what 10 he's been in the league 10 years. He's played on some teams that have consistently gone to the playoffs, and he could teach, especially with us moving to more of a 4-3 defense than what we were running.
Yeah.
Yeah, he can bring some experience and some stability as well to the defensive front. Now, with that being said, our defensive front, in my opinion, is not set yet. We still need to do some more work on there because of the injuries, especially to Devon Hamilton, which his injury last year really hurt us
Yeah.
more than most people realize. But and with Smoot not being signed yet back to the team, he's still out there floating around. So yeah, we still need to work on that. But Armstead, he brings a lot of experience, and I think he can mentor a lot of the younger defensive linemen as well. And also he takes some of the pressure off Travion Walker and Josh Allen, which is huge. That frees them up a little bit more. So yeah, he was a huge signing, and I think his relationship with Balky, who drafted him while he was in San Francisco, had a lot to do with him coming to Jacksonville.
Yeah.
It's just that relationship that they had. So yeah,
Yeah.
that was a great signing.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Their relationship in San Francisco. That makes a lot of sense. Connects a lot of dots for me.
Yeah.
So you mentioned losing Calvin Ridley and then
hmm
bringing in Gabe Davis. Obviously, these two guys are a little bit different style of players, but do they play the same role, so to speak?
No, no, they don't. Um, you know, Now this is my opinion. I think when now we have to go back to the 22 season when we didn't have Ridley. Our offense with our receivers clicked more. They're more productive. Okay. With Ridley, when Ridley came in, I believe we tried to force him the ball more than just letting it flow. Of course, Trevor didn't have a lot of time to throw the ball anyway, but he still tried to force it into Ridley. And if you look at the numbers, really only caught 50%, 55% of his passes that he was targeted,
Yeah.
okay, with 6 drops. So when you look at that kind of production, and he was supposed to be wide receiver one, it made no sense. It really didn't. And everybody was saying, well, why didn't the Jaguars keep, why didn't we keep it one? And here's the thing. Wrigley, I know everybody say, Wrigley said at the press conference he wanted to stay a Jag. He wanted to stay in Jacksonville. Well, if he wanted to stay in Jacksonville, he would have stayed. You see,
Yeah.
and that's the way I look at it. He chose the money and moved on. Fine. I think what really actually did was it was a two-way street. We said, okay, we're gonna give you a year contract and see what you can do. Maybe you can help us, maybe you can't, and then we will reevaluate after that. Now, really didn't know all the routes. He didn't learn all the routes. So a lot of times he was running the wrong routes anyway, which caused a lot of problems within the passing game as well. So when it actually came down to him staying or going, I really believe the Jaguars had a plan in place anyway. That's why they went after Gabe Davis. You
Yeah.
know, that way, and Gabe Davis is more um, versatile, in my opinion, than really is,
Yeah.
and more clutch. At this time, because remember, really been out for a year or so he still was working off rust. So he used the Jaguars as more or less a training ground, if you ask me. To get the skills honed a little bit again. And at the end, he wanted the money. Fine. See you later. We good. We got, our core receivers. We got our core receivers. Hopefully, they all become healthy again this year, and we go back to operating like we did in 22, where the ball was spread around, and we moved the ball up and down the field, scoring touchdowns. We don't have that one receiver where we're going to continue to force the ball to, and because he's quote unquote the wide receiver one.
Yeah.
Okay. And in Doug Peterson's offense, you don't need a wide receiver one. What you need are dependable wide receivers and a dependable tight end. That's what you need in a running game. If you have that, you don't need a wide receiver one because everybody at one point or other will become a wide receiver one depending on the scheme the defense they're playing against is running. So that's why, I don't think the loss of Ridley is as big as a lot of people have made it out to be. And I'm sticking with them guns because I think in the Doug Peterson offense, everybody's interchangeable and everybody would get their shot.
Yeah.
That's the way I see it.
Very well said. Very well said. I can't disagree with any of that. I will say that we are going to be doing a live stream of the first round of the draft. You are more than welcome to come on if you want to talk about your Jags when they're on the clock or right after they make a pick. Up to you, but it's also a
Okay.
heads up for anybody watching. First round of the draft will be there. Um,
All right.
let's shift gears to the team that Calvin Ridley went to. A team who started the offseason with a lot of cap space and made a lot of big moves. The Tennessee Titans. Chidobe Awuzie, trading for L'Jarius Sneed. Calvin Ridley, of course. They signed 2 or 3 offensive linemen. Um, None of them necessarily, world beaters, but upgrades from what they had. If the Jags have had offensive line troubles last season, the Titans have had it for the last 2, and it has been absolutely terrible, terrible offense to watch. Um, Brian Callahan, the new head coach, he's building a team not necessarily similar to Cincinnati in structure, but adjacent to it. Um, they are usually in Cincinnati. They had a bigger back in Joe Mixon, who pretty much carried the load on all three downs, but now he's gone and he's in Houston. But Callahan's going to bring a lot of offensive uptick, a lot less predictability. He's going to spread the ball around a lot. The addition of Calvin Ridley gives them a solid 1-2 punch with DeAndre Hopkins and, of course, Ridley. So I think this team is looking a lot better than they were last season. They still have a lot of work to do on defense. They need to get somebody to fill in the hole that Danico Autry left when he went to the Texans. They brought in Kenneth Murray to fill in for Azeez Al-Shaair when he went to the Texans. There's how do I want to say? There is a lot to like about Tennessee's moves if you're a Titans fan. There's a lot to really kind of be like, okay, well, this guy makes sense, but why are we signing a 25-year-old guard who only got to play a little bit last season for the first time? There's a little bit of puzzling things. Rand is trying to cook his hardest, and I think the Titans are a little weird when it comes to spending big money. So this is all like brand new to them, and they're kind of trying to soak it up for the first time. With that being said, the Titans are still going to be trash.
Yes.
There's going to be a lot of. This is going to be really the this is going to be the prove it year for Will Levis. Will Levis has got to do his thing, and if he doesn't, then they're going to be looking for another guy.
All that money to be dead last.
Yeah. Well,
Will Levis is going to end up being another Tim Couch. Watch.
Yeah. Put it on him like that.
Oh, yeah. He's going to end up being another Tim Couch.
Well, didn't Tim Couch also go to Kentucky?
All right. I have no love for the Titans whatsoever. None. I remember 1999. No, I have no love. Jeff Fisher is the head coach. I have no love for him whatsoever. Yeah. And when they let Derrick Henry go, I said, you know what? Them bunch of clowns down there.
Mm-hmm.
Derrick Henry was not finished at all. They had the perfect 1-2 punch. Derrick Henry and Spears. You let Derrick Henry go and you bring Pollard in. Where's the logic in that?
Yep.
Really, you signed the same type of back you already have, basically. Makes no sense. I understand you want to move from a little bit from the verbal ground and pound and what have you, but getting rid of Derrick Henry, no, that was a dumb move. Really, it was. Who's going to respect your running game now? Nobody.
Yep.
I mean, so
and they've got to shore up a left tackle and possibly a right guard spot to even be really viable as a threat this year. So the draft is going to be huge for the Titans. Hopefully they can for the Titans fans' sake, but for the Texans' sake, I don't think it's really going to matter. The Texans.
Okay, hold on for a minute. Hold on. I'm sorry. I want to go back to the little tiny Titans, the little tiny people. I know they got DeAndre Hopkins too, but he's not the old DeAndre Hopkins. He's not at all. He had he only caught 50-something% of his passes he was targeted on. So now you got Ridley and Hopkins out there. Who else you got? Trayvon, that guy named Trayvon Banks, they've been talking about for the last 2-3 years. He still hasn't shown up. So, I mean, you got Tim Couch at quarterback, i.e. Levis, a running back room that's okay. Whatever you get, you may,
Yeah.
No, I just don't see it. No. Yeah. Only thing they had going for them a little bit was the defense as far as the front, but now that's questionable as well. So, no, I really don't see them doing too much at all.
Yeah.
Not in our division. Maybe the NFC East or something like that, but not in our division.
Yeah. Well, they do have the benefit of playing the last place schedule, so that might benefit them a little bit more than we're giving them credit for, but probably not. Now, the place that the Titans moved from. Do what?
I was trying to see if I could put a big trash can on the screen real quick, but
yeah, gutter trash.
I got to figure out how to do that. Just a big trash can.
So the Houston Texans, obviously last year's division winners, came into this offseason. I didn't know what was really going to happen. I knew Caserio was going to try to make moves, but I didn't know exactly what. And it kind of looks like they're going chips in, you know, maybe not all the chips yet, but the chips are being moved to the center of the table. Stephon Diggs in a big trade really shores up the top 3 wide receivers. We probably have at this point the best top 3 wide receivers in the league, at least on paper. The Joe Mixon, while a lot of people are going to be like, he's washed or whatever, and he might be, it's definitely an upgrade from Dameon Pierce, and letting Devin Singletary go to the Giants in the wake of Saquon going to the Eagles for I think like $6 million, $7 million a season, which was what we're paying Joe Mixon. I'm cool with it. There's a little bit more of a top gear with Joe Mixon than there ever was with Devin Singletary. But even still, Singletary played well. This kind of sucks to see him go. Beyond that, it was all pretty much defense. Danielle Hunter was a huge add. Azeez Al-Shaair fills in where Denzel Perryman was. Blake Cashman leaves, but we bring in Danico Autry. We bring back Derek Barnett. We bring in Jeff Okudah for some reason. Mike Ford and Lonnie Johnson Jr. for sentimental purposes, I guess. And then I guess you could really say this offseason is somewhat for the defense and somewhat to keep Frank Ross as our special teams coordinator, because a lot of these moves were like depth pieces and special teams guys. And Frank Ross has consistently been one of the best special teams coordinators in the league, and they don't want him to leave. The draft is going to be big. We already traded back out of the first, so I am very curious what we're going to do at the top of the second, who's going to fall. But in my opinion, it still feels like it's the Texans' division to lose. Does anybody have anything to say about that?
I think we're both going to argue it.
Well, I mean, yeah.
I don't think the division is even up for grabs if Richardson stays healthy. I mean, there was even a game or two in there that they should have won. So I think I think the division's a lot closer than it just being straight off Houston.
Okay. All right.
There's a few plays away from the Colts winning division. I'm just saying.
Your quarterback is more fragile than Crystal. Your quarterback is more fragile than Crystal right now. He was that way in Florida. He really was. But it's okay. I mean, you know, honestly speaking, the division minus the little Titans, it is a strong division. It really is. The Texans, with their signings, okay, on paper, yeah, they moved them a little bit above everyone else, but they're not that far ahead. They're not at all. So I think whoever comes out, our division is strange. It really is, because nobody really sweeps anyone anymore in our division. You know, usually it splits one way or the other. Because I know with us in Houston, I have no way of figuring that out. And the Titans, you know, it's just one of those things where you win one, you lose one. You win one and lose one. You know, so the division is going to be tight. Now, as far as Diggs coming in, I didn't understand that. I really didn't, with the receivers, young receivers that y'all already have, and the way they were performing. I didn't understand bringing him in, because he's more. My theory is, why would you bring a diva into a young group of receivers that's already performing well? It makes no sense. To me, it can only disrupt what y'all already beginning to set. You know, if you watch his actions down in Buffalo, when he didn't get the ball, when he thought he'd get the ball all the time, then yeah, he had a problem with it. You
Yeah.
have a young quarterback. You have a young quarterback. You don't need that going on. Pierce, why y'all got rid of Pierce? Let him go. I don't know. He scared me more than Mixon does. He really
Pierce is
did
still on
because he was just, huh?
Pierce is still on the team.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, he's still
So,
with
yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, y'all need to trade him. Get rid of him. But yeah, he scares me more than Mixon does.
Yeah.
You know, Mixon has his moments, but Pierce is more consistent, is a more pound. He's gone type of guy if you're not careful. So y'all gonna get rid of Mixon. Pierce. I'll be all right with that move. You know,
That
but yeah,
was it.
but seriously, yeah, the division is pretty good. I
Yeah.
think the Texans, yeah, they moved a little bit ahead, but I don't think they are that far ahead because you have to remember also last year no one had film on CJ, so everybody was just trying to figure out, what was what, and the same with Richardson. So now after a year, we got some film on CJ now, so we can set defenses up a
You
little
still don't
bit
have a lot of
better.
film. You still don't have a lot of film because he was
Well, on AR, no, we got a lot of film him in the infirmary somewhere, but
Got him.
but that's about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, film, kind of evens it out a little bit if you have the right coordinator and the right defensive scheme to battle it. So yeah, but it should be a very, very interesting division. It should be fun. Put it that way. It should be fun.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
let me answer your
no.
Stephon Diggs question. Stephon Diggs was brought in because there were 3 games last season that Tank Dell and Nico Collins played in at the same time.
Okay. Just 3.
3 games.
Okay.
So
All right.
the idea is maybe instead of having all 3, you hope that you have 2 of the 3, any 2 of
Okay.
them, and you can keep the offense going along the way you want it to do.
Okay.
That's Cody Stutes made that point to me, and I was like, I didn't even think about that. That makes a lot of
Yeah,
sense.
me either. Yeah, it makes sense. That
Yeah.
makes sense.
I also think that that between D'Amico Ryans and CJ Stroud, probably 2 of the
Mm,
strongest personalities in the NFL in the most positive sense of the word. Um, I think if there was anybody to kind of like get him to buy in, it would be those 2.
mm,
If he can buy in, Stephon Diggs is a threat, even at 30. Last year was his worst year in 5 or 6 seasons, and he still had over 100 receptions, 8 touchdowns, and 1,100, almost 1,200 yards. Um, so I mean, and he wasn't really bought in then. So if he's not really bought in anyway, we restructured that deal, so he's gone after this season.
mm. You know what?
So
No, honestly, the best move y'all made was hiring D'Amico as your head coach.
oh yeah,
I really like him as a head coach. I really do.
yeah,
You can see that fire. And because he played for the franchise, that's even more loyalty there. So
yeah,
yeah, that was a good move.
yeah. He was our first defensive rookie of the year, if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
So
I remember him.
Yeah.
such a headache
I'll
for
agree
most
with the I'll agree with the Stephon Diggs with Eric, the kind of that prima donna attitude. But
Hmm.
I always had him in fantasy football, and I had this hatred to Josh Allen. I feel like a lot of that was on him. I really do. Um,
Hmm.
when you have, when Diggs is rolling, he could be one of the top, if not the top receiver in the league. And there were games where he didn't even look at it. Like, and I kind of get where Diggs was getting a little bit pissed off with that. Even from a fantasy owner perspective, I'm like, yeah, I want him to throw the ball to him 15, 20 times. But there were games where it was like 2 or 3 times and he'd have like 1 rush. Like, what the fuck are they even doing in Buffalo? So I don't know if it was, I don't know if there was a rift between him and the coach, the team. It's like they didn't really make any of that shit public. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I mean, I'm not hoping that he does great in Houston. I don't, because a lot of Colts fans wanted Diggs here. And they basically got him for nothing. So that just kind of
that
pissed off Colts fans a little bit more.
that says
We wanted a
that says a
receiver.
lot in itself.
Yeah.
Mm.
That says a lot. They got him basically for nothing.
Yep.
Like, okay.
Yeah. We
We'll see how it goes, man.
we literally I think we were gonna pay him like 7 or 8 million of his contract this season. The Bills were gonna pay the rest. As well as, sending back 2 picks in return. So we got a sixth and a fifth from the Bills in that deal. They were definitely itching to get rid of him. From what I understand, there was a rift between he and Sean McDermott. Sean McDermott having never played in the NFL, and Stephon Diggs feeling as if that means something. And then he found a place where the head coach played in the NFL. So maybe it means something to him, even if it means nothing in any other meaning, like in any other sense. Lots of coaches who never played in the NFL have won Super Bowls. I just want to ask everybody, what was Bill Belichick's position? Exactly. Homeboy didn't play. I think he and Andy Reid won a punt, pass, and kick competition as kids, and that's pretty much as close to the NFL as they got until they got into coaching. With that being said, all offseason, we hear from our fans interacting with our other teams' fans, and all sorts of senseless bickering. But sometimes we get people on our team, our fans, who say some outrageous stuff, try to push a narrative that makes no sense. Let's hear one from each of you. Who wants
Trevor
to go?
Lawrence is a bust. That's the dumbest thing I have ever heard in my life. The guy is not a bust, okay? He's not. If you watch Trevor Lawrence and the way some of the balls he throws, yeah, the kid is not a bust, and he works hard. It's hard, as I said on Third and Till a lot. If you go back and watch Tampa and Kansas City when Mahomes had that makeshift offensive line, he looked horrible that game. He really did after having a great year. And our fans, I think fans sometimes have a unrealistic expectation of what a quarterback is supposed to come in and do. Without the weapons or the protection to get the ball to the weapons.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's one of the biggest ones that our fans have. He's a bust. He can't even. Y'all not watching the game. A lot of y'all just, y'all listen to the commentators that have no idea what they're talking about. Look at the game. Watch him work. I know he turns the ball over all the time. Well, he's turning the ball over a lot of times trying to make a play. That's what he's doing.
Yeah.
His receivers aren't getting open. They want to run in the wrong routes. Two receivers in the same area. So with that happen, you're bringing more defensive men into the area. Come on, y'all. What are you doing? Pay attention to what's going on. All right. Trevor is the man. He is the man. Stop listening to all these media hype men because they have no idea what they're talking about. Okay, so Trevor is not a bust. That's one of the biggest ones. Okay, I'm done.
Well said. No, I don't think he's a bust either. I think Trevor Lawrence, we've really kind of scratched the surface on what Trevor Lawrence can be. We saw a little bit of it in 2022, but I think if they can The Jaguars seem to have like a weird, like, let's collapse for part of the season and then get shit together for the other part. If they can ever just get it together for a longer stretch, I shudder to think how good that team would be. But Jeff, any Colts narratives that fans are spewing?
Man, it's Colts fans are fickle, man, and spoiled. I'll say it. Going from Peyton Manning to Andrew Luck, and it spoiled. And I'm just trying to think of one of the many nonsensical things that they say. But I think the main one I'm going to hype on is about Chris Ballard and the comparison of Ryan Grigson being better than Ballard because of some playoff success under the Grigson era. Problem is, Ryan Grigson was gift wrapped Andrew Luck on a silver plate, and outside of him and Kelly, who the fuck did Grigson draft that was worth the shit? I'll wait.
Yep.
You remember Bjorn Werner? What was the name?
Yep.
Philip Dorsett in the first. Like,
yeah,
he had a terrible tenure at drafting, and I think an even worse at trades. I mean, I was a little bit behind the Trent Richardson trade until about maybe 2-3 games into his tenure as a Colt, and then I was over. There was nothing notable about Grigson, and Ballard has done such a great job finding talent all over the draft. I mean, every GM misses. I mean, it's just part of it. There's going to be a miss. There's going to be, a trade that you make that just doesn't pan out. But Ballard hits way more than Grigson. And just, he had more success in his tenure, but it was in spite of him, not because of him.
Yeah.
So that's got to be the main thing that's pissing me off. I think the only thing that Ballard has really missed on is finding a franchise quarterback. And if it was so easy, then every team would do it. So
true.
I think he's done an admirable job of trying to find, a patch and then if he makes a mistake, he moves on from it. He doesn't dwell on it. He doesn't keep Trent Richardson around for 3 seasons or whatever the hell it was, trying to pat himself on the back for a mistake. So yeah. I hate the comparison. I hated Grigson every single minute he was here. I think Ballard is a lot better and has built a team that I kept saying it, if they had just an above average quarterback, they'd have been so much better over the last few years.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, they had Philip Rivers.
That's the narrative that pisses me off, is that comparison. Yeah, and they did well with him. I mean, and then they had Matt Ryan, and we all know who that went. And Carson Wentz.
Yeah, that part.
It didn't go well.
Now, just sit with this idea for a second. What if they would have signed Joe Flacco after they signed after Philip Rivers retired? Then we'd be having a much different conversation. They probably had a ring by now. Joe Flacco's been
Yeah, that's a stretch.
Might have been better than Wentz and Matt Ryan, but I don't know if I'm going that far.
Yeah, that's a stretch right there.
Oh,
okay. They may have been better, but I don't know about the ring part.
Hey, look,
might have been a little bit better. Probably not a ring.
Yeah.
I'm going to do the Titans first. One narrative I don't like from Titans fans, not all Titans fans, but I've heard this from a great many Titans fans, that because of the additions this offseason and the hope that number 7 in the draft is Joe Walt, they assume that because of the additions that they are a playoff team. And I do not buy that. I don't like the idea that they're the next year's Texans. It's just not how it's going to be. The Titans are going to struggle. Will Levis is still technically in his rookie season, if you want to get real technical about it, just the same way AR is. So
Mhm.
he might be able to get away with some stuff, but a lot of stuff's going to be scouted because he did have half a season of gameplay. So the Titans are going to be. It kind of really depends. If they can gel early, then they might be all right. Finish a couple games south of 500.
No.
If they don't, then I think that they probably have a 5-win season max. I don't
Okay.
see a lot of hope for the Titans this season.
Uh-huh. Me either.
Yeah,
Nope. See, the Titans fans, they got overexcited when they won that game against Miami. That basically Miami gave the game to them. You
yeah,
know how they won that game, I don't know, and that kind of gave them a little false courage, I guess you could say. No, the Titans, no, the Titans aren't ready yet. No,
no,
not at all. No, and I said, like I said before, Levis is another Tim Couch, and it's okay because he's from Kentucky. But
If
yeah, he's another he's
if
another Tim Couch.
yeah,
That's all I'm gonna say.
if if they had made the moves that they did and kept Derrick Henry, I
Then
might bump
maybe,
them closer up to that 500. I
yeah,
a couple games
without
south of
him,
500.
no.
That's 7
Like
wins.
I'd inch them closer to that 500 mark. Like I wouldn't say cross it if they had Derrick Henry, but no, that man deserves
mm.
to go to a team that can actually compete.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then at all, you let him go to the Ravens. Out of all teams, the Ravens. There's no way in hell I would let Henry go to anybody in the AFC. I'm
yeah,
sorry, not I may have to face no, but you send him to the Ravens with Lamar Jackson. No,
yeah.
no.
No,
But okay,
yeah. The franchise
yeah,
tag him and trade him if you don't want him, but don't let him
yeah.
just go to the Ravens.
Hmm.
Yeah, that one
No.
that one's
Yeah,
gonna hurt because the Ravens are gonna be the Ravens again, and that's gonna be an issue late in the year. Um,
Yes.
so for the Texans one, I'm gonna go a little bit more. I'm gonna attack a positive narrative that a lot of Texans fans, I'm gonna say most Texans fans have this as an opinion that Titus Howard is going to immediately be uh, back at the level of play he was at right tackle 2 years ago. We gave him an extension, a 3-year extension, which was, I think, 18 a season um, last year. And in this past season, he played out his 5th-year option. Uh,
Mhm.
and he played horribly as a guard. He was better than some of the other guys that we had that were available at the time, but other guys came back from injury and played better at guard than he did. Um, I don't think Titus Howard has long for being in a Texans uniform. I think if he plays poorly this season, you could see Casario be moving him pretty quickly. They already restructured his deal to lower his cap hit this coming season. They did just kind of do that whole like, we're going to take it out of your base salary and just give you this as a signing bonus. But um, I don't think Titus Howard is it. I think Laramie Tunsil is one of the top 3 left tackles in the NFL, but Titus Howard is average, and we paid him. You know, I think I'm trying to remember what Laramie got. Was it 3 for 75? His last
Mm,
extension, I think it was like 25 a season. We paid this man $7 million less than that guy,
mm,
which doesn't necessarily equate to average tackle to me.
yeah, you're right.
yeah. Okay.
Um, I think that's going to be one move where Casario is going to be looked back on and be like, probably shouldn't have done that. But that's just me. A lot of Texans fans do not agree with that take. But that is a narrative that is being pushed that I'm not a fan of. That Titus Howard is going to be back and solid at right tackle after playing left guard and being outplayed at right tackle by George Fant.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. But isn't Tunsil a little long in the tooth now?
He's
And
29.
hasn't he been had? Oh, okay. Hasn't he had a lot of injuries lately?
I mean, he's always a little banged up, but he usually just plays through it.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, a couple years ago when we were like literally the pit of the NFL and he got hurt, he just stayed on IR because we were like, why risk it?
Mm-hmm.
But beyond that, I mean, I think he misses a game or two every year, but predominantly he's in the lineup. Now, I'll take a game or two missed. It sucks, but I'll take that.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think that pretty much covers all four of the bases. So let's do a real quick round one, what we want to happen. I'll start with the Titans because we're number 7. So as I mentioned earlier, a lot of Titans fans want Joe Alt at left tackle. I'm in agreement on that. Literally anybody is better than what they've had the last 2 seasons at left tackle. Literally anyone. I could play better left tackle than they could. I'm not the appropriate size to play left tackle in the NFL. Maybe center, realistically, but not left tackle. I would get windmilled like every other play, but that would still be an improvement. They're
You need
paying
me
him,
to just stand in the way. Like it's
dude,
just
literally, like with Twice Daily and Andre Dillard from last season, who was also paid roughly $18 million a season.
Mm,
They ate a big chunk of that for him to not be on the team anymore.
mm,
They're paying him, I think, like $10 million this season to not be on the team. So with play like that, anything is an upgrade. So Joe Alt at 7 is the dream pick at 7. There is a scenario where no other quarterbacks other than the top 3 quarterbacks go 1, 2, 3, and everybody else drafts skill position and stays where they're at. In which case, the Vikings would probably try to trade up with the Titans, get 11 and 23 out of that, sure up left and right tackle. If I was Rand Carthon, that's what I would do, but I'm not him. Who wants to go next? Who's the next pick?
I think the Colts because we're at 17.
50.
Yeah,
So
so the
we're
Colts
a
come
couple in
next.
front of you.
Yeah.
And this was a hard one to say. There was another irritation. Obviously, there's a lot of nostalgia with what the Colts fans want to do, and that's move up. Probably have to be in the top 5 to grab Marvin Harrison Jr. It's not happening. That is not the Ballard thing. They'd have to give up probably 3 firsts or 2 firsts and 2 seconds. It's not going to happen. It's not happening. They also wanted to grab Brock Bowers. He's not falling to 15. Again, Ballard's not trading up to get a 7th tight end. It's not happening. If he falls to 15, that's a different thing, but I doubt it. I talked about it, on the Unstable episode that's probably coming out. It's like 50-50 that Ballard stays put or falls back, because I feel like the Colts' biggest need is in their secondary, particularly at defensive back. I feel like if they got one, they stayed at 15, they probably go corner. If they fall back, they probably do the same. And they can get. I said 50-50. I'm leaning even more to him falling back so he can get corner and wide receiver and load up, a couple of seconds, maybe a second, third. I don't know. I feel like he can still fall back and still get the corner that he wants in the first, and he'd probably go. I would assume wide receiver again in the second, because this draft is deep. Having said that, I'm really looking at Cooper DeJean. I think that's who I keep grabbing in my mock drafts. That's who, me and that's what we did in our mock draft in the first one. Was grab Cooper. So
Okay.
That's the way I'm leaning.
All right, Cooper DeJean or trade back. I'll take that. Eric?
Yeah.
Well, I know a lot of our fans are yelling, go receiver, go receiver, go receiver. We need a number one receiver. I disagree with that, of course. I think our biggest need right now is corner. We need to get another corner in there, if only to learn from Darby and Campbell, because sooner or later one of them guys is going to be gone. They're not going to be there for, I don't see them being there. And if Campbell doesn't produce and stay on the field, he may be the one gone. So we need to get a corner in there, get him trained up, and what have you. Now, Balky has said, just yesterday, uh, if it comes to a point to where somebody's on the board and they're close, he may trade up, but he's not going to trade up into the top 10. He's not going to do that. He says basically, look, why do anything now, especially now? Why trade anything now when you don't know what you're going to get unless you trade up to number one? And that price is just too much. I know a lot of people say, well, we're going to trade up into the top 10 to get one of the receivers. I think that would be a mistake because this receiver group, this draft is very deep. And I think, you can get you a quality wide receiver, in the second or third rounds, that would fit the scheme that we run. Because as I said before, I feel we don't need that quote unquote wide receiver one because our our offense is very interchangeable, just depending on who we playing and the matchups.
Yeah.
Later on in the draft, yeah, I think we should go after offensive line and maybe some defensive linemen, for depth, but other than that, yeah, I would go Arnold or Arnold at 17. I think that's the boy name. Yeah, Arnold.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Texans have the next pick at 42. As part of the trade with the Vikings, they gave them 23, picked up a second next year, and traded that one for Stephon Diggs. So 42 overall. I think it's likely that if somebody big falls to the top of the second, I could see Caserio moving up. I don't know exactly what that takes the form of and what has to be given up, but I could see it happening. What was there's a defensive tackle out of Illinois. Can't remember his name. You guys on your Gin Jag podcast were talking about him.
Yeah. Dang it. I
Newton?
probably got it on here on my phone. Is it Newton? Yeah, I think that is Newton.
Johnny
He's
Newton.
on. Yeah.
He would be somebody kind of interesting. Running a 4-3, we don't necessarily need the biggest guys on the planet to fill defensive tackle, but he would also bring pass rush to the team. I think he would be a good fit. I think he might be there at the top of the second. I think he probably goes late in the second or late in the first though. But somebody who's more than likely going to be at 42 because of some of the trouble he's got in, he might be falling even further. But Tavondre Sweat out of Texas, he's pretty much the exact opposite of Newton. He is 350, 360 pounds, deceptively fast for that size. He's a huge space eater. When you run a 4-3, you don't necessarily have your defensive tackles exactly like mirror placement. Sometimes you have them right in the guard center gap and then have one over the guard tackle gap. So you're basically get somebody getting double teamed every play. They're trying to eat as much of those blockers as possible to make the linebackers run free. I think Sweat would do that phenomenally well. He could probably even catch a fullback or two if the team even has one. But I think Sweat would probably be the most likely pick. A lot of Texans fans were thinking before Diggs, wide receiver would be likely there. But with the addition of Diggs, it's got to be another big option would be Bullard, the safety from Georgia. If he's there at 42, I think they pull the trigger on that and bring in a toast of the SEC defensive player. But gun to my head, it probably Sweat. Yeah. So with that being said, I think we're kind of at the end here. So if you guys have any closing comments.
Well, hey, the AFC South is going to surprise a lot of people this year. You know, besides beating up on each other, we gonna beat up on everybody else. So it's just that simple. You know,
Yeah.
well, minus the teeny Titans. You know, they may be the problem child, but other than that, you know, we gonna do what we got to do.
Yeah. Damn Skippy.
Yeah.
I think we've
So
all taken several steps this offseason. I think we've
right.
all gotten significantly better. Even the Titans, who were absolutely dreadful last year, I think they've improved, at least on paper. But
They're the tiny Titans. The tiny Titans.
I first thought you were saying Teen Titans, and I was like, I mean, yeah, that's
Yeah.
accurate. But yeah, no. Well, I think that's a good spot to end it, folks. Thank you for watching, Jeff and Eric. Thank you for coming on and sharing your love of your teams with us. Go ahead, hit the like, subscribe button, folks. Go ahead, hitting the like, subscribe button on Third and Teal. You can find them at Third and Teal 1. Unstabled at Unstabled 1. That Real Texas Team podcast at that Real Texas Team podcast. And Titans Takeaways at Titans Takeaways 1. If you're a fan of any of those particular teams. So without any further ado or heavy breathing, let's get the hell out of here. Y'all,